Imagine brings a sense of scale that's different than a lot of other artists, and she came into this project and this commission opportunity and saw the space that we had at the museum as a holistic large wall, as a canvas, and has created a three-dimensional piece in response to that architectural space that's truly incredible and will transform the space.
My name is Sneha Shrestha. I also go by Imagine. I'm an artist from Kathmandu, Nepal, and I paint mindful mantras in my native language. I paint larger-than-life buildings and paintings. I am a Neighborhood Salon Luminary at the Gardner Museum, and it's been an amazing experience spending so much time at the museum with the other Neighborhood Salon Luminaries and learning from them. It's been a great opportunity to get to create this work of art for the space. There was a lot of inspiration that went into the piece. I think the first piece of it was the location of the work, where it's gonna go. I looked at it and, you know, it's in the education studio. It's where the shelves are, and I wanted to find a way to make the piece work with the shelf. You know, it's a similar process where I paint murals on different buildings, and it's in different neighborhoods, and it's an opportunity to transform the space. And I definitely thought that it would be a great opportunity to create a 3D piece for this, a sculptural piece. And then that's where I started thinking about various ideas that I could go with. I had a lingering feeling of just wanting to create something in gold that was solid and wanting something to cover the whole shelf in a way where it has a presence that like golden objects usually have. And so Ria helped me get in touch with Diana, who is the associate curator at the Gardner Museum. And I was looking for, you know, in the beginning it was fairly broad what I was looking for. I was looking for any sort of inscriptions that I could, you know, perhaps be inspired by, because my work is based on my native letters and this calligraphy style that I created. I was looking for golden objects that are in the museum. I was looking for objects that might have been from South Asia. I'm from Nepal, and so I wanted to see if there are any objects from Nepal or other parts of South Asia. So these are the things that I wanted to see. And after going through multiple or several objects, I landed on this one first object that's a statue, a bronze statue of a Buddha from China. 18th century. You know, that was one object that I really felt like I saw my culture in it. In Nepal, there are a lot of statues of Buddhas and other deities in bronze, casted in bronze, and it's shined to a point where it looks golden. And I saw a statue that looked very similar to what I grew up seeing, you know, on the streets, in stores, in temples. And I latched onto it immediately. And the other piece was a piece that is, you know, nowhere close to South Asia, but it still grabbed my attention. It's a very large, multi-paneled altarpiece by Martini. It was brought from a church in Italy, and it's grand, it's huge, it's golden. It's, you know, the arches on it are beautiful. And when I saw it in the museum, I couldn't stop looking at it. I think it was the gold that made me so curious about the characters that were under these like amazing, like beautiful arches from the church. It made me curious about, you know, well, who else or what else can be under these golden arches. The arches also made me think about Nepali temples that I grew up seeing, and how they're casted in bronze and they look golden, and it has like a similar sort of effect. So architecturally, I was able to see a similarity between this painting / altarpiece that I'd never seen before with what I grew up with. And the commonality was the structural element, but also gold. Gold makes us think of jewelry. My connection, direct connection with gold was also jewelry, because I've seen my mom wear some gold jewelry. And so at one point in my life, I felt like I was ready to own my own jewelry. This piece of jewelry that I went to my mom's, a jeweler that my mom usually goes to in Kathmandu, Nepal, which is my hometown. And so all these connections with gold really made me want to create something in gold all over again. Who or what it can be under these golden arches. Well, what would happen if I put my letters, my native letters that are very sacred to me, under these golden arches? Hopefully with this piece, people can think about what else can be under golden arches that we don't usually see. The title of the piece is Calling the Earth to Witness. The title comes from the title of the little bronze statue. The title of that piece is Buddha Calling the Earth to Witness, which might have been a translation, correct or incorrect, I'm not sure. But I wanted to pay homage to that piece that kind of got me started. The pattern that you see in the structure, it's made out of just one letter, which is the first letter of the Nepali alphabet, repeated over and over again to create sort of like a pattern. The process, I basically treated the work like how I would treat a mural. I see it as an architectural adventure where I'm looking at the surface, I'm looking at where the art is going to go and what might look best in terms of transforming the space and adding meaning to it. And so for this space, because I wasn't painting a wall, I still wanted to have the presence of like a mural. When you stop and look at the mural, that moment, I wanted to recreate that. So I knew that I wanted to cover the whole area of the shelf. And there's been I created a lot of iterations of what it could look like before I approached my friend and fabricator at the Black Cat Labs, Anton. And we went back and forth in terms of what might be structurally sound. And so for me, this is my first structural piece, so it was a great learning experience in terms of thinking about what would be stable, what would still look great, what would still feel like my work, and what would still look authentic to what I do. Because a lot of what I do is my hand style on the mural, right? It's my handwriting directly on the mural. How can I create something that is less my hand directly on the art piece? And so we created these structures out of my design, and then on top of the design, I added my brushstrokes to it. So it's somewhere in between a painting and a sculpture at this point. If you look closely at it, you will see the brushstrokes. You can trace my brushstrokes on how I wrote each letter on it. I still wanted the piece to look authentic with my hands still painting the letters. And so the answer to that was having the letters cut out first and then me painting it over it, just like how I would paint my letters. It's a fusion of a sculpture and a painting at the same time. It's a different challenge than a mural, right? Because a mural is stationary, and I take all my materials to the mural, complete it, take all the materials back to my studio. However, with these pieces, we had to work with them in fractions, like in separate pieces that would come together. One of the challenges was in transporting the piece because it's fragile and there's many pieces. There are about 150 letters that make up this whole structure. And so while it's not as big as my murals, it's pretty big in terms of a 3D object, especially for me. The other thing that I also realized when, having these two pieces from the museum side by side, the sculpture from China, the Buddha sculpture from China, and then this huge multi sort of panel altarpiece by Martini was that there was a lot of information on the Martini piece, and there's going to continue being a lot of information on Martini pieces everywhere in the world. However, this little 1.5-foot tall sculpture from China didn't have a lot of information other than the date that it was brought to the museum, and I think it deserves more of a story. And so I thought, you know, if there's another piece of artwork that's gonna come from the Asian continent, and then from me specifically from South Asia or from Nepal, I wanted to make sure that there's a story that comes with it, an authentic story from the source that comes with it. My work is an homage to my culture, and through sharing my culture that people might not necessarily see every day, I hope to build cultural competence. I think I'm constantly curious, and so art making is a process where at least I like to keep it so that I don't exactly know what's next. It's constantly problem solving, and I really love it. And you can let your sort of imagination free in creating what you're trying to create. Like this one was a new adventure that you know, got bigger and bigger as I got deeper and deeper in it. And I'm very happy with how it's turned out, and it's really exciting to be able to share it on such a large platform.